Whatever idea you come up with when you have some startup or some business you want to start, whatever idea you come up with, that idea is not going to work because you came up with it in some ivory tower between your ears, which is not a good place to find great ideas. But what will happen is that when you present that idea to your potential customers, they are going to tweak your idea. And so the important thing for an entrepreneur is to be in listen mode and to be listening really carefully. So for example, when I was working on my third startup just before I quit my job, and I had a slide deck and I used to go make presentations to potential customers, and I was would take like half a day vacation when I was doing that. And so I was at this large bank in Chicago and I was going through my deck, and the CIO who was sitting in the room, I went to slide 11. He said, go back to slide 10. So I took it back to slide 10, gave my spiel again, took it to slide 11. He said, go back to slide 10. Again, I gave my spiel, went to slide 11. He said, do not move the slide from slide 10. I have no fucking interest in any other slide. We're only going to sit on slide 10 for the rest of this time. Okay, so I said, amen. We're going to be on slide 10. I realized when I went back that slide 10 was addressing a very severe pain point he had. And that was the only slide that really, because I was saying we can do X, we can do Y, we can do Z. He wasn't interested. He was only interested in one thing. And I realized that not just him, but everybody else is only going to be interested in slide 10. And they're not going to be interested in anything else. I had to listen. If you listen, your customers are going to tell you what to do. So what I did is I redid the deck, and slide 10 became 20 slides, and all the other slides went away. And then after that, when I went for the next presentation, 15 minutes after I finished, there was a purchase order. Just kept going because now it was pinpointed, laser-guided missile going to exactly what was pain point, because this guy's pain point was everyone else's pain point as well. And there's no way I could come up with it. It's beyond my pay grade to ever come up with that. So your customers will direct you to what you need to be doing. And whatever you tell them that you want to do for them is not going to be correct. But you have to listen. And it'll be, sometimes it's slightly off, sometimes it's significantly off. But if you listen, they will educate you. It's a very important model to keep in mind, is that your customers are going to tell you what's going on. Whenever people start businesses, and you can look at any business from, Ford or Microsoft or whatever else, the founders don't know. They don't know what they're doing. They're kind of figuring it out on the fly. Any market that you're going after, 2 or 3 players will have 80 to 90% of the market. It doesn't matter whether it's, paper clips or airplanes. So if you say that this is a $10 billion market and I only need 2% of it, it's not going to work. What that means is that you have not done the segmentation. What needs to happen is you need to say, okay, this is a market of this size and my offering is so good that I can take 70% market share. So if you start out saying I'm going to take 2% of a large market, you're going to fail. But if you say I'm going to take 70% of the market, you've got a chance. Incentives are a lot more powerful than you think. Munger used to say that every year in his life, he would encounter some nuances about incentives which told him that whatever he thought about the power of incentives in the past was not enough, that it was even more powerful than he thought. And these 2 books actually are very good. One is Copy This, which is by the founder of Kinko's, and Les Schwab ran a very successful set of tire repair and service shops in the Pacific Northwest. And they both were really smart about how they used incentives to scale their operations. So when you build your organization, you have to be very smart about the incentives. Humans are very heavily driven with incentives. This book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, is a very difficult book to read. If you guys pick it up to read it, I suspect most of you will give up on reading it before you get to the end. but please try to read it. And in the first reading, you may not understand the book. That's okay, you can read it again. But what Robert Pirsig talks about is the intense and extreme pursuit of quality. And he gets that message across in a very roundabout manner, but in a very beautiful way. So it takes a while to kind of understand where he's coming from. He's talking about ghosts in the middle of the book, so that's kind of where I'll lose many of you. Just push through. Push through and read it, and so it'll show you the power of bringing extreme quality into everything you're doing, which again gives you a big leg up in life. And it's easier to build a business which is a great business than a shoddy business. If you're focused on building a great business with a great foundation, it's easier to attract the people, it's easier to get the customers, it's easier to get the whole ecosystem to work with you. So even though it's kind of more harder treading up front, playing the long game, never thinking of an exit, making it your life's work, just wonderful things to do. The purpose of business is not to make money. The purpose of business is to deliver a great product or service to humanity. And if you do that, the money will follow. So if you start with the notion that I'm going to be an entrepreneur so I can get rich, you're not going to get rich. And it's not going to be such a fun journey. But if you start with the idea that I'm going to serve humanity in some great way, there's a basis to actually get there, which will be great. And when I started my first company, I put a value on my own time. At that time, I would have valued my time at, $50 or $75 an hour, maybe $100 an hour or something. And I thought about, anything that could be done for less than that, I was happy to pass on. And almost everything you want done can be done for less than $100 an hour by somebody else, maybe much less. And certainly for a few $100s an hour, almost everything can be done. If I were to look at it today, I would put my value as, probably a few $1,000s an hour or something. And I try to only work on things that I'm intensely excited about. And I try to have a team that can work on the rest. Hire slow, fire fast. Hire for capability, not scale. I don't have many people in Austin. We've only got 3 full-time employees. All 3 of them were hired as fresh grads. I don't have anyone working for me full-time who had any experience anywhere before they were hired. And I can't do without them now because they know too much and they're really good. So when we go after fresh grads, we go after capability, we are going after an amazing pool. And when we're trying to hire someone, the important variables are they have to have very high integrity, they have to have high intelligence, and they have to be very, very energetic. We have to have all 3 skills.